Channel. And on today's episode, I have a guest. Like I've been having a guest back to back in the last three episodes you've watched, and I have another amazing guest that has done me the honor of coming on my, on my small channel, and I sincerely appreciate him for that. The name of the guest I have on my channel today is Omoyele Sowore. And Omoyele Sowore is a publisher at Sarah Reporter. Is a human rights activist and presidential candidate for AAC during the last presidential election in Nigeria. Thank you for coming on The Last Voice. I really appreciate you for coming on my channel. And my first question is that you've been restricted in Abuja since 2019. And you're someone that like traveling. You like moving around. You like moving from one place to another. You visit schools. You do a lot of talking. You're all over the place. And I just want to ask, how has that affected you mentally, psychologically, just being restricted to a place?
Well, thank you for bringing me on The Last Voice. And to your question about how it makes me feel to be restricted to a place for years, for me it's just a gradual process. I was in solitary confinement for 5 months when I was first arrested by the Nigerian government through their secret police known as the SSS or aka DSS. So in those days I had no access to phones, no access to television, no newspapers, no access to real human beings in my view, except the guards who barely seen. So I got used to that. So when I was then released into the city, I started getting used to being in a city, what I call city arrest.
City arrest?
Yes.
Okay.
So, but restriction is physical and mental.
Okay.
In my head, I'm all over the place still.
Okay.
And I think the advent of technology has helped me to travel far and wide while sitting in a place. So I've done, a good number of Zoom interviews, contacts, I FaceTime people. Sometimes I don't even feel like I'm restricted.
Oh, that's
but mentally, I feel I'm always, I'm very free in my mind. So, and I know what they were doing if it was to break me. And if I want to ensure that it don't break me, I must be able to get out of that artificial detention or restriction and just be out there doing what I know how to do best.
What's that?
Well, traveling without physical motion.
Interesting. Traveling without physical motion. Thank you. I was just curious. I was concerned. Like, I hope he has the emotional capacity to handle all these things that are happening to him. And thank you. And like Mr. Sowore said, restriction is in the mind, and I kind of like agree with that. I've known you way back since 2015, 2016, but a lot of people don't know you are a very family-oriented person. You are hands-on dad, you go to soccer games with your kids, you take them to school, you do a lot of things with them. You are very much involved in their life, irrespective of everything you do outside or the show red people see outside. You are hands-on with your kids, you're an amazing dad, an amazing husband, and you come home every year. I think in the last 9 years, at every Christmas time, to be with your mom for Christmas, for the festive period. And since 2019, you haven't even had the privilege to do that, to be there with your kids, missing out on, I think that's about 3 years ago, missing out on some of their growing up. How has that been for them? Everybody, they want their dad, your mom wants to see you. How has that affected them, and how has that affected you as a person?
So, just to tell a little bit of background to my history of growing up with me, because my daughter was born when I was transitioning from a 9-to-5 job to trying to set up Sarah Reporters.
Oh, okay.
So I was somehow a sit-at-home dad.
Oh, okay.
It was like my wife would go to work and I'll be take her to school. I take her to daycare, and I come back work, and I go take her for so. At the point I was the person she knew.
Oh.
Because she knew her mom, no doubt. Mothers are closer to the kids. So, and I've never been away from them since they were born for more than a month at the minimum or at the maximum. And suddenly the father has been gone now for a long time. For a period, the mom couldn't even tell them where I was. She said, he's traveling. And then one day they probably head out to ransom and say, you must explain where our dad is. Having also grown and known how to access the internet, they probably found out on their own that their dad was incarcerated.
Oh, okay.
So when I got released, I was able to see them. It was emotional reunion, virtual reunion. And then since then we just talk over the phone, we FaceTime each other, and I try to watch them do stuff, but it's not like when you're there physically. So it's tough for kids, Sometimes you just ask, when are you coming home? Regardless of the explanations they have. So I left my daughter when she was probably 5'7", and now she's almost 6 feet tall.
Wow, wow.
And I left her when she was 12, going to 13. Now she's 15 years old.
Wow,
Same thing
big
for
deal.
my son. So this is big deal, but in our line of work, this is expected. You have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
How's your mom?
My mom took a harder hit. She had stroke in the midst of
all of
all
this.
this, and hasn't been able to move around for a while. So she's right now undergoing treatment, but it's very hard and tortuous route to recovery. So I'm just hoping that she will make it okay. We talk. Her voice is intact, which is just physically, having challenges right now.
Okay, I wish I had quick recovery. I wish there was something I could do, but I'm not Nigerian government. Well, I wish I had quick recovery, and I hope you get released pretty soon, that you can reunite with your family. Thank you. Revolution now.
Yeah.
You like talking about revolution now.
That's right.
And I read a little bit about you. I did some research, and you were pro-democracy. You were part of those people that help us actualize democracy far back.
Since the advent of the current democratic journey started in 1999.
1999.
Yes.
And you now start saying revolution now, and you start saying Buhari must go. Buhari is a democratically elected president. So when you say revolution now, how do you intend to actualize that? For me, I use revolution, and I'm a fan of revolution of the mind. I believe when people are more aware, they make more informed decisions. But when you say revolution now, Buhari must go, I'm a bit confused, and other people are confused too. They want to know how you think this revolution can be actualized, or I just want to know where your mind is when you say revolution now, Buhari must go. Despite the fact that he's a democratically elected president, and only the Senate or the House of Assembly have the legitimate right to impeach him. So what do you mean by revolution now, Buhari must go?
First, I have to disagree with you that he's democratically elected. That's
fine. You can disagree with me. That's fine.
I participated in 2019 election.
Okay.
And it was a complete sham. It was a selection. They just, conjured figures, and awarded these figures to the winner and the losers alike. So, but coming to the topic of revolution, I don't think anybody is confused about the meaning of revolution. I think the problem is that a lot of people just think that it's impossible. And when you talk about democracy, it is the democracy of the majority. That's what it's the voice of the majority that should count. And if a majority doesn't want a government, even if they voted for the government through election, they can also call for the removal of that government if the government has violated its contract with the people. What is popularly referred to as the social contract. So revolution now is about changing not just the leadership, it's about changing the constitution, changing, our economic, our social and cultural mores to accommodate the majority of our people. It's a kind of call for inclusion. But we've looked at the Nigerian state, looked at the Nigerian constitution, agencies, and operators, and discovered that the Nigeria they are running has run out of bandwidth and is incapable of fulfilling the wishes and aspirations of the people. And that the new Nigeria was possible, but it can only be bettered via a revolutionary process. So that's what revolution now is about.
Okay, that's interesting. I think I now have a more clearer picture. So it's not all about just removing, it's all about everything, the constitution.
It's beyond removing the president, but it would be great if anybody who didn't perform in office is kicked out of office. Nobody should be held to ransom for 4 years, when they have completely responsible, incompetent, and corrupt officials running their affairs. We should be able to say enough is enough.
Enough is enough. I believe, for me, I believe people have to, when it comes to election, or when it comes to time for election, I think the people should, should be able to make informed decision and not make decision based on sentiment. Oh, this man is from the north, he's from the east. We are supposed to question people that are saying they want to lead our nation. We should question them. We should ask them questions and see and confirm their credibility, confirm their capacity, and see how competent they are to take over the affair of the nation. Thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for explaining your revolution now.
Thank you.
So another election is coming up in 2023. Do you think you're going to be running?
I never stopped running since the last election.
What does that mean?
I continue to campaign, I continue to fight, and continue to challenge the system as an opposition figure, and I continue to defend, alongside my colleagues and comrades, the interests of the masses. So we've been doing since 2014 what politicians are now about to do, speaking out about policies, fashioning policies, and debating them and putting them out there so as to create social awareness and consciousness. So, and that's why I say I never stop. So what you are trying to ask, which I want to disclose right away, is when that period will come when the call will be made to the Nigerian people or public regarding
okay.
well-known.
I'll wait for the call. And the way you answered that question led to another question. I just thought about another thing. You said you continue to fight.
Yes.
You've been fighting since, I don't know, since maybe in your early 30s, and now you are 50.
In my 20s.
In your early 20s.
Yeah.
So you've been fighting for over 30 years.
Yeah.
So me, when I was younger, I used to be an activist. I used to talk. But there are points where I'm just tired. Okay, I'll just do something subtle, not as much as. Do you ever get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm good, all by myself? Do you ever get to that point of okay, I don't care about this country anymore. They've caused me more harm than good. And even sometimes the people I'm trying to advocate for or talk about are still the one insulting me, because sometimes I feel like you are misjudged or people don't really understand what you stand for. Do you ever feel tired or?
No, I mean, it's natural for human beings to feel tired sometimes. I'm tired right now. But I don't judge my acceptance based on what trolls on the internet tell me. Because sometimes they're sponsored to just divert your attention away from serious issues. But I also believe that, thinking about my own private comfort is alone is selfishness. And that this country is in need of very selfless people.
I agree.
Who can make all the sacrifices that, even though they don't benefit from it, others could benefit in the future, now and in the
restructuring. I think it was part of your manifesto. And even me, sometimes I'm confused about what restructuring means, because someone is going to talk about restructuring, they will talk about another thing. They listen to another person talk about restructuring, they'll talk about another thing. In the simplest form, like in the simplest of the simplest form, what does restructuring means to you, and how do you really intend to restructure Nigeria?
See, Nigeria was a colonial creation.
Mm-hmm.
There was no input of Nigerian people as to when Nigeria was created, what are the boundaries, borders, and even the language we spoke, the national language chosen for us. We're not allowed to partake in all of that. And ever since then, whatever structure it was we had in 1960 have been tinkered with by political upheaval and a civil war. So restructuring, in my view, is a process where we come together, call everybody together in Nigeria. It would require the input of the people. Ask them how they want to manage their resources, how the states want to relate to the federal government, or if completely people want to change the governmental system in Nigeria. Those are issues that are up for restructuring. I'm not big on those who are calling for restructuring in a non-definitive way, because a lot of them, like you said, when I ask them what is restructuring, they'll say, the Niger Delta people want to maintain, take over their oil. And some people say they want to go back to the 1963 constitution. I disagree with those. How do you go back? When the 1963 constitution was made, there was no internet. How do you go back to that and then start figuring out the role of internet? So that's why I don't really listen too much to the older generation who are involved in this whole restructuring campaign. My own idea of restructuring is to overhaul the entire governmental system of Nigeria and, codify it by putting in place a new constitution and also letting the people themselves discuss the basis for which they are going to be joined together, not that they are forced into a marriage that is going so bad but the person is not allowed to exit. But if we have a conversation about this, you'll be surprised how many people want to stay in Nigeria.
That's good. I think that's a bit clearer for me. And, one more question. During majority of Nigeria, or let me say a lot of Nigeria, don't let me use majority. No, we have two political parties. We have APC, we have PDP. Those are the biggest political party in Nigeria.
Yes.
They have this structure, they have everything. But some people are just tired. They
Yeah.
have tried both parties. APC has done 8 years, PDP has done 8 years.
16 years.
PDP did 16
years.
APC did 8 years, and people seem to be like they're tired. Like there's really nothing to show for these two political parties. And even though aside from the party, some people 8 years they are in APC, the next year, the following year they are in PDP. So it's more of just vice versa.
There's kind of people.
There's really nothing. They are not issue-based stuff. Yes. So people are tired and they are looking for the third option. And, during the last election, people were talking about third force, coalition, all those things. And but at the end of the day, the third force couldn't really emerge because majority of the new people could not come together to drop one presidential candidate. Do you think this time around you'll be able to coalesce with all the people to bring about that third force?
First, I need to correct the impression about the third force.
Okay.
I don't agree with the use of the word third force.
So
because that presumes that there's a first and second force, whereas there's no. And I also want to disagree vehemently with those who claim that the legacy parties, the big political parties, have structures. They don't have structures. What I see are just transactional structures here and there. In a year, you know where they are, you know that they are going to be around, and that they could be bought at the highest bid. And you go and give them money and say, no, and everybody starts, hailing you. And the person who doesn't pay or who cannot give loses out in the election. But in this selection process.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason I don't like to talk about thought force. Everybody should have the freedom to run if they want, and build formidable party platforms, and don't start weakening them by calling it a thought force.
Okay, so what should we call it? Just a political party?
If it's a political party, it's a political party. You know, the people who are going to be in the thought force themselves, they're not new people. So you can't make it sound like they dropped from the sky. It's the same. Some of them are some of the people that were in APC, PDP. Because Nigeria is the only country where you can grow up and where you can wake up in the morning as an APC member and go to sleep as a PDP member.
True.
Yeah, so I wouldn't bother myself about
thought force. And you wouldn't.
And I don't even like the label of thought force. It connotes some kind of fearful inferiority to major political parties. Whereas even APC had not been properly formed as of February of 2014.
That's true.
Yes, so they have only been around now for almost eight years. There's nothing spectacular about these guys, aside from the fact that they have access to wealth and influence, because they are stealing a lot of them, and they are right there in the corridors of power. So that's the reason why we no longer believe in this reformatory discussion about democracy, that an overhaul is needed for the democracy to continue to grow.
So you're talking about a complete overhaul of the political system and the Nigerian system.
Yes.
That's interesting. Thank you. Lastly, this Lola's Voice, like I said, one of my major goal and objective is to make more young people politically aware, conscious. They should just know what's happening around them. The young people don't know as much power as they have. Look at what we did during NSAS, and it was, I think for me that was phenomenal. I loved that. I enjoyed it. If you want to say something to them right now in preparation of the 2023 election, how they can actively participate in politics, because a lot of people think just coming out to vote is what active participation in politics means. I feel like there's more to it than just coming out to vote. So what would you tell young people at home, or even not only young people, everybody?
Something is still standing between Nigerians and a total and full realization of liberty. And that issue is that a lot of people are still doubting their capacity and ability to demolish what is standing between them and liberty. And I need to tell them that, being complacent won't help you in this situation, because I see a lot of complacency. And of course, there's also a number of even young people who have been in office who have messed up spectacularly, the likes of Kogi State government and others. So that makes people lose hope even in the so-called young people.
That's true.
Yes, that's the reason why we want to put more effort into giving voice to these young people. It's not that you have the voice, you must speak out, and you must do so consistently, and you must be everywhere, so that your interest is not trampled upon as a very powerful constituency. Because the most powerful constituency today in Nigeria is the youth population. Every other person is just a slide to that.
You're right. Thank you very much, Mr. Sowore. Thank you for coming on Lola's Voice. I hope to
be back.
I hope to see you fly somewhere else in the next few weeks, and few weeks hopefully. And I hope you regain your freedom. I hope you reunite with your family.
Nigeria, they use computer. The leaders of Nigeria, they use radio where they turn the knob.